Hello and welcome to Thursday night's Equipping Women at Buck Run here. We're delighted tonight to have Leanne Hockensmith joining us. Leanne is a longtime friend of mine. How long have you been here at Buck Run?
Since 2003.
All right. Well,
We came right before you all came.
did you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I had her smiling, welcoming face, and we became friends right away and have stayed good friends all the way through it. And the Lord has brought us even closer and sweeter, and I'm so grateful.
I'm grateful for you.
I can't even tell you. You're just a sweet gift to me. So Leanne's married to Bowen, and they have a total of 5 children. They've got 3 biological and 2 who.
What do you call them? Bonus? Children in
I
love? What do you call them?
I call them my children.
Your extra
I just called them
children.
my children.
Yeah, my
You know, like
children.
you get a child, you either get a child through biological means, adoption, or marriage. But they're not one's more your child than the other.
Not at all.
And so, I've got 2 extra that came along with the 2 previous ones I have. So now you have 5, and they are. How long now? You have like marriage back to back with them, sort of, right?
We have 2 newlyweds.
Okay.
So our 2 oldest children have been married. Shelby's been married for a little over a year. Trey's been married for about a little over 4 months.
All right. So we had 2 through COVID with the wedding too.
We had Trey's wedding in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. So how about
Trey
that?
and Bailey, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
way different than the summer wedding we had with Shelby. Way different,
Yeah.
but precious. But it was.
Yeah.
But yes. So
I got to see pictures.
Yes.
So got to see, the other one up close and personal,
Yes.
and that was
Yes.
before all this crazy stuff hit. But
Very
so,
different.
all right, that's their family, and they've been here at
Yes.
Buck Run for. But tonight's going to talk about dating your spouse, and well, let's just begin. Why is it important to date your spouse? Why does that even matter?
Well, I think it's godly. I mean,
Yeah,
it's godly to be intentional with your spouse, and because your marriage is a picture to people in your life, people that you don't ever talk to, people
Right.
that you have directly in your life, whether that be your children or your friends. But it is a picture of Christ, and so to date or to have that intentional time with your husband, I think it's just it's a godly thing to do.
Yeah, it leads to incredible fruit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the absence of it also leads to fruit, just bad
It
fruit.
does.
And so it's one of those things that we want to be having as part of our life. And I also want to start at the very beginning of this and help people understand that this is not something that you just do as a newlywed, or you do. How long have you guys been married now?
We have an anniversary in a few weeks, 26 years.
26 years. That's
26
awesome.
years.
Mine will be 40 the next time. Is that crazy? I remember seeing like pictures of people at their 40th anniversary, and they look so old.
I know, we're not old.
No, heck no. But I still practice dating my mate. it's still part of the intentional part of my life, and I'm convinced that it needs to be until Jesus takes us home.
Absolutely.
Because like I can tell, and I know you've seen couples who intentionally interact with each other even in their old age, instead of just going to their separate chair, watching their television, doing their thing. You can see the chemistry and the love and the dynamic that is healthy all through their life, even through those golden years. And so I have watched people do it well, and I've watched people not do it well. And I determined that the difference was intentionality.
I think so.
And so you gave this one thing. I think you said you got it on Focus on the
Focus on the
Family,
Family.
which I think, first of all, they give a lot of really helpful tools
They do.
for all kinds of things, and they focus on the family, which is really great. But let's talk about those. I want to just briefly go through those.
Well, I had done this talk when we had Equipping Women last spring, and so I had done a lot of research about dating, and I mean, it's a wealth of information. And so I really liked this article that I had read from Focus on the Family. It was called Spending Enjoyable Time Together, and it really talked about the components of intentional time. And I mean, these are, they're basic things, but I think they're things that we need to keep in mind. But for one, they need to be, your time together needs to be regular.
Absolutely.
And consistent.
Yeah,
That goes
so that
without being
goes all
said.
the way through.
Absolutely.
to the end.
Absolutely. Regular
Yeah.
and consistent from, newlywed. I think sometimes even when we're dating and we're engaged and you get married, sometimes people just forget you still got to keep dating.
Yeah,
And you
people.
still got to keep
What is
pursuing
that
each
thing
other.
like? Why keep running after the bus once you catch it, or something like that? I forget what the saying is. It's something like, "Why keep running after you caught the bus?" They're not a bus.
No.
It really and it. I mean, what the regularity of it is. It's imperative. It's a component. You can't. I mean, you cannot have what you have to have in your marriage to paint the picture of Christ's love for his church without regularity. Because what if the Lord only showed up enough in your
Oh.
life, like when things just got sort of tepid?
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
he keeps himself close to you and intimate with you in that way. So regularity,
Yes,
what else?
absolutely. Well, variety. I think we can easily say, well, what's date night? Well, it's dinner and a movie. I think you need to spice it up. You need to have some variety. And I think even with Bo and I, we were just thinking recently, Sydney went back to school a couple of weeks ago. And so the house is very quiet
That's
again.
their youngest.
That's our youngest. Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about Sydney.
No,
She
no.
didn't get any airtime.
Okay, give her airtime
Oh,
real
Sydney
quick.
gets airtime.
She's
No,
delightful.
she is delightful. She is a sophomore in college. And so we're semi-empty nesters when
Right.
she's at school. So, she went back to school a couple of weeks ago, and we already kind of found ourselves kind of getting into a routine at night. And
And Sydney was part of your routine.
she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
It's,
now, yeah.
what's she doing tonight? What are we having
Yeah.
for dinner? So now she's out of the picture on the daily. And, we found ourselves even still getting not in a rut, but just kind of doing the same
Right.
things. And I said, we have all these things that we have wanted to do when we had other people to consider. We don't have to consider them anymore. Let's just make a list, because when you have time, to do something, you can't think of the things that you're thinking.
No.
What was that thing we said we want to do? I said, so let's just make a list of the things that we can do now that it's me and you. Put it on the fridge, put it on our board, and that way when there's a night, we say, well, what are we going to do tonight? Well, tonight let's go play tennis, or let's go visit somebody from church, or let's go see your mom, or whatever. And then that way we don't get in a rut. So I think it's important even still now to just have some variety in your date night.
Yeah, I love that you said make a list instead of, because like here's the way it typically goes. Oh, we've got a night tonight. We can go out on a date. What do you want to do? And what's the answer?
I don't know.
What do you want?
Well,
I don't
what do
know.
you wanna
What do
do?
you want to do?
What do you
I
wanna
don't
do?
know.
I don't
What do you-
know.
And you can't really come up with something. So having a list, having something that you can pull from, and that could be like your first date, right? Your first date night. You can go, let's sit down and make a list.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I thought
let's
you were
sit
saying going on your first date again. That's a good
Oh,
idea.
now that's good. There we
Okay.
go. Yeah, you could do
Put
that.
that on my
one.
list.
Yes, that's right. But Herschel does this thing when he speaks. We do a seminar, or actually it's a conference, a mini conference at Southern Seminary, and it's for married couples. And it's really it's a whole weekend that we do. But he uses three things. He says you want common ground. So you're looking to add on a list the things that you like to do together in common. Like say you like to play tennis, Bo likes to play tennis, and you put that on your list. But then you're going to look at things that are called separate ground. And that would be things that your spouse does that you would enjoy learning or
Right.
participating in. And vice versa, and then add those on your list. Like if your spouse is a good cook or something like that, like you flesh that out. But then you have new ground. It's something that the two of you, neither one of you have done it, but you go, hey, this could be fun.
Yeah.
Let's try this. And it could be like, did you like do rappelling or
Rock climbing.
rock climbing?
That was my other child, Blake.
Was that it?
He taught us how to rock climb.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
But-
I mean, I had to watch him do it for a while before I felt very safe.
Yeah.
But after a while, I thought, why not? Why can't I try this?
Yeah, it was just, I was like, that's just so awesome. That's so cool. And I love the angle of the photographs, by the way. You can never take a good picture of somebody
No,
rock
I
climbing.
know.
But it was great. I loved it. So variety.
Well,
Those are the things that sort of lead into variety. You're making a list.
Absolutely.
And you can draw from those three things, and don't fail to make a list because you won't be able to come up
You
with
won't
it.
remember them
Yeah,
when you have time. You
yeah,
won't.
like when we do the marriage retreat, Buck Run's marriage retreat. One thing that I really appreciate, my niece Jennifer
Yes.
Whitaker, shout out to Jenny. She will typically on the Facebook post, she will start putting links up on the things that you can do. And she's like, be adventurous, which, try
Zip
different
lining
things, do all
or-
that. Like forging a knife was one of the
Yeah.
thing. Somebody
I
did
saw that.
artwork and those are things that on your own you might not be able to do, but you need a variety of
You
things.
do.
It's not like just sit down on the couch because it's comfortable. That should not qualify as a date.
No.
I
No.
mean, that should qualify as relaxing.
Yes.
Like you can put your dog up in your lap and do that.
Right.
So, okay, so you've got variety, and then the third one
Yes.
was,
Well, two more I have,
Okay,
and that
okay.
goes exactly along with what you were
Okay.
saying. Was that have adventure together? So you already nailed that. So we'll
yeah,
just
but
move
it,
on. I
but
think
it does
is.
link, adventure links,
does.
it
It's
does
perfect.
something, it produces a chemistry
Yes.
that causes an excitement or fear. Any of those things, like, you remember the things when your emotions are heightened. I don't know. I'm going to get way too involved in all
No,
this
I think
probably.
it's true. It
But
creates
yeah,
a-
it
it's a-
creates
it's
a
a
memory
bond
that
and a-
stays.
yes.
And women are much more, if they have an emotional response, the memory is more embedded because that's the way our brains are made than if a male has an emotional response. That's why, like, we will go, do you remember that time you said to your spouse? And he goes, no.
No.
And it was like, because it was emotional for us, we will remember it.
Right.
Because we were happy, scared, whatever, fill in the blank,
It's made a
sad.
big impression on
It's
you.
made an impression and pulls it up.
Absolutely.
So, adventure. And
And then the last thing is just have fun together.
Yeah.
I mean, just laughing together. Those are the things you remember. I mean, I probably couldn't remember what Bo gave me for Christmas 2 years ago, but I'm
Right.
going to remember if we had an adventure and we had fun together. And so I think those things are really important. But
Well, and it gives you little snippets of things that your brain will go back and hook on. And like, do you come up with like these crazy little sayings or something that, like on a date, you say something dumb or you do something dumb, and then it becomes a fabric of your life for years.
It does.
Herschel's, I'm gonna call Herschel out. One time I was really sad and we were having a hard time with something going on in our life, and he just says, "Do you want me to clog?" And I said, yes, I want that. Because I'm really sad. And that just seemed like such a weird thing. And he began to clog. And it was so funny. It turned into fun. And now, if he senses me feeling it, he does his little clogging thing. And it's become a fabric of our life.
I love that.
Isn't that precious?
I love it.
And it's silly, but fun things really do. They don't have to cost a thing.
Nothing.
They just, the adventures that you get lead to fun things. And so it's important to date your
is.
spouse. So why then, what happens, do you think, if we don't date our spouse?
Well, for one, I think
what's the fallout
the
of that?
fallout is, one, I think we're less patient with one another. I mean, that just goes without saying. We're disconnected from one another. I think you start self-focusing. I'm
You're
just
right.
thinking about me. I'm all up in my head, and you grow distant with one another. And then also, I think it's way more easy to get irritated with each other. And I call it my running dialogue about what I'm irritated with Bo in my head. And it can just grow and grow and grow and
Right.
balloon. And if it stays in my head and we're not connecting in some way, I mean, it can just explode. Normally, if I say those things out loud, they sound really stupid
Absolutely.
and
right.
irrational, but nonetheless they're there. And so I think there's those, that's a lot of negative fallout from that. And then let's be honest, I think you're going to have a lot of fallout in your bedroom and your sex
Yeah,
life. I think it's going to be less frequent.
absolutely.
If you're not connecting outside, it's going to be really hard to connect inside
Yeah.
in your bedroom.
Like-
So those are important
Yeah,
things
you got to
consider.
romance up to
Yeah.
to those,
Absolutely.
to enjoying your spouse in the
Absolutely.
way that the Lord has designed. So, okay, you and Bowen, now
Mm-hmm.
you've been through several seasons. You've
We
done
have.
toddler's life and adolescence and going on, and now you're up to empty nesters.
We are. We
sort
are.
of. Okay, so how is dating different in these seasons?
I
Let's talk about what's the same. What would you say is the same? Intentionality
it's
has
been
to say.
consistent and,
Okay.
and intentional.
Okay.
I really wish, I mean, not that we weren't honoring the Lord in the beginning of our marriage, but our marriage was different at that
Mm-hmm.
point. And we've slowly over time just grown closer to love the Lord more and more and really
discovered
to
that's
make
a
a reflection.
vital. Yeah.
It is. So let me just say that. But honestly, even just in our marriage, dating has always been important to us before we had children. And then as we started having children, it's always been something that we have made a part of our marriage. And our children know this. But obviously, it starts presenting challenges when you start having children. You bring them into the mix and the challenges that come with that, whether it be, the cost involved, the time. Let's face it, in today's world, children are the center of our lives. They shouldn't
Absolutely.
be. Your marriage should be the first thing.
Right.
But it's very easy for them to become front and center. And, we were, when our children were younger, we kind of had two seasons. We had one season where we were close to family and they could help us out with the children. And then we had another season where we didn't live close to family and we relied on babysitters or friends to help us. So I think that's the biggest challenge to continue being consistent in dating is when they're little. To us, the floodgates opened when they hit middle school. It was fantastic because we could be a little bit more spontaneous. We could have a little bit more flexibility. You didn't have to call the babysitter and line her up 2 weeks in advance or make sure your parents weren't busy. You could leave them at home for a couple of hours and it was okay. I mean, our children, even when our older children were in middle school, they could watch the younger one for a little bit while we ran out and did something. So that was really nice. Surprisingly, it has been a little bit more challenging for us to keep our date nights, even though we're more flexible as our children are older. And I know you can appreciate this because we've talked about it before, is if my children aren't at home living there anymore, or they're not there very much. If they call me and say, hey, Mom, I'm going to stop over, and we had plans, but they didn't know about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, come on over.
Right, that's
because
right.
I want to see my kids. And I know my time with Bo can be a little bit more flexible, but I will say that they have always been respectful of date night. If they know we have a date night, they will say, well, we don't want to interrupt date night.
Right. So my advice would be throw it out there that you're doing it before they say to them, hey,
but they might not
like
come.
a week before, it's like, hey,
True.
next week, your dad and I've got a date night planned for fill in the blank.
Right.
And then it'd come easier to,
now
not
that they're
infringe
married,
upon
we
that.
don't see them as much.
Yeah.
And Sydney's at school a long way away.
Right.
But that got a little bit more challenging because I think it was probably more me. I wanted to be available to my kids.
Yeah.
But I even see that translating into our two older children that are married. Date night is important to them. I hear them say, well, it's date night, or we haven't had a date night in a while. I think it's made an impression on them that we showed that we like to be with each other alone.
Right.
It was important to us to spend time together. And I think that has been something that has become important to our married children.
Well, yeah, and you think about, you're talking about it having an impact or influence on your kids. I think sometimes parents think very short term in the sense of, one day maybe your kids will be married, they'll grow up and they'll get married. What do you want their home and their relationship to reflect and be like? Do you want them to value dating their spouse? Do you want them to enjoy the company of their spouse and be intentional about it? Do you want that to be the patterns of their life? Or do you want them to be people who sort of operate in their own orbits and then focus completely on the children or cohabitate? If I were to just look out and say in the future, what do I want for my sons to have in their relationship? Well, I've got to give them a good picture of that, what I think is biblical, what is healthy, what's helpful for a marriage. They've got to see that in the patterns of my life.
I don't think you're thinking about that. Maybe you are, maybe you're not when your children are little. But
no.
I mean,
but
if you can
huge.
turn that switch and say, I want my
we
children
just think
to want
so
that.
like in this moment.
We do.
And we just go, oh, but they're only going to be little for so long. Yes, that is that they are only going to be little for so long. And one day they're going to be adults who have to function with a healthiness. And so, I used to wear some sort of false guilt about doing that kind of stuff when my kids were little. And I just had to wrestle myself out of it and say, God's plan is for them to be only little for a while.
That's right.
But to be grown, because you got from 18 till who knows how long. You're only little for a little time, right? So you still pour into your children, you're still teaching them and shepherding their hearts and all the valuable things, but one of those valuable things is shepherding them with intentionality between you and your spouse. It gives them incredible comfort zones.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think that the fact that they know that we make each other important, I think that was a foundational thing for them growing up. That
and
they
your
knew.
kids can sense when you don't.
Oh, absolutely.
You think, well, if we just fuss behind doors, or we just live in our own world and we cohabitate kind of thing, you portray to the children a very false narrative of what it looks like, and one that's not healthy, but they know it. And they maybe can't defend it or define it. So it's important for your kids to see it. I think it's important for your friends to see it. Like me watching you date Bowen is an encouragement
Same
to
with
me.
you.
It's like going, I see that. When I saw
We
you
need
guys.
to go on a double date.
We do. Game. It's on.
That's going on the list.
Let's do it. Let's put it on the list. You guys like food too, so we'll foodie date. Let's do it.
That sounds great.
Okay,
That sounds
that's
great.
on. All right, but it's important for all types of people who are in your world to see this is a very valuable thing from it, and then from that you actually do have the potential and the directive of why it's important. You get to use, my relationship to Herschel is so important because it's important to the Lord. It's important to the Lord because it paints a beautiful picture of his love for his bride. And so I'm able to use my relationship, my testimony of my marriage is probably one of the most fruitful things that I have, that I do. I say with little effort. I don't have to study up for it.
Right.
I just can be intentional in making that happen. All right, so now let's switch gears.
Okay.
And let's move to like how often. Let's talk about, like you're saying, consistently date. So what would let's calendar it out.
Okay.
What's a good healthy?
Well, I like to have at least just a goal. And when I was preparing for the class that I taught last year, there was varying opinions about how many hours you should do in a month. I really liked this idea that I came across. It's not my idea. And it was 2, 2, 2. So this is just a goal. So it would be, your goal would be to have 2 date nights a month, just a date night, 2 overnight trips, an overnight away a year, and then a trip, just the 2 of you every 2 years.
That's awesome.
I love it. I mean, it's easy to remember.
It's not like written in stone, but those are good
It's a
goals.
good goal. It's a good goal.
Yeah.
And I can't say that we achieved that. I mean, we were pretty consistent about having date nights when the kids were younger. And I think, as you mentioned, the marriage retreat, that's a good, it's a couple of nights. So I don't know if it would count as a whole vacation, but it may be your vacation that year. I don't think that we had our very first vacation away from the kids just for financial reasons.
Right.
Wherever you are in your life, until
Right.
I think we were married about 15 years. We got about 4 nights away. But I think it's just a really good goal. To do that. And even, we can definitely do that now. We can have way more date nights than 2, but especially when you have kids. So I think that's a good, I like that. So
so say it again. It's
2, 2, 2. So 2 nights a month,
Okay.
just a date night, 2 overnight trips a year, and then a trip away, just the 2 of you every 2 years.
I think
So there's your 2, 2, 2.
that's awesome. I think those are easy to do's, things that you can pull off. And again, different financial seasons of life, but you can get super creative.
You can, and I've got
you
tips, and I think
so. Let's talk about some of those tips.
Okay,
Let's talk about dating just in general.
Well, let's say what it's not, and you've already touched on it. So how many times have you been out to dinner or seen a couple together and they're on their phone? They're not even talking. They're out to dinner. That's not what I mean at all. That does not count. Really put your screen away. I mean, that's the age that we live in. We can be very consumed with that. So put your screen away. And not to say you can't sit on the couch together, but if you're going to watch a movie, watch it together, talk about it. So that's kind of like baseline date night. But here's some tips that I have. For one, talking about, the 2, 2, 2 and planning and all that, is put it in your budget. I think that, even if your budget is $10 a month, that I'm going to say that's what I'm going to allot. It could be $100 a month. I don't know, but put it in your budget. And even put it in your budget for that, long-term plan of maybe a trip together at some point.
Right, and I do think, like some people, like we had a season when Herschel was in seminary where we didn't have funds,
Right.
Extra funds, but we did have the capability, if we could just throw $1 in a jar and just keep doing it until we accumulate it, before you know, you've got $50.
Right.
And $50 to people who don't have much money at the time, you could really enjoy a nice date with $50.
Or even
is a
flip
lot.
it and say, what is the most that we can do, or most creative thing we can do with $5?
That's right.
I think
That's good.
you can go
Right.
backwards, and you can do a great date for $5.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of freebie things.
Lots of free things.
Lots of free
You don't
things
have
you
to
can do.
spend a dime.
And we found a lot. We lived in the Memphis area, so they had a bunch of
yeah.
free things here. And we live between Louisville and Lexington, so basically you got gas to get those. But Frankfurt's got right now COVID's a little crazy.
It is.
But you still got to get creative.
You do.
You still got to do, Herschel and I've created an oasis. Now, don't anybody show up over at my house because I don't want to see you because it's our date. Sorry, but I've
your date
created,
night area.
I've created an area that we can go sit out in at night and just enjoy talking, and it's just become.
We have one of those too.
It's been really, and I've seen people, some people have Mac Daddy built decks and everything while this time's going on. But it's setting aside the importance of saying, here's what you do. So you budget for that. But even if your budget doesn't allow for it, you can still pull off a lot.
It's not an excuse.
No, I did.
No money is not an excuse.
That's right. I would enlist friends
That's
to
what I was gonna
come
say.
to my house.
Just swap out, share.
That's right.
You watch my kids, I'll watch your
That's exactly
kids.
right. And so you have to, if you've not done that before, you're shortchanging. First of all, other people from having the blessing,
Right.
and you're shortchanging your kids. And I don't know how else to say it. From
agree.
them seeing that this is a value system. Okay, so budget,
Well,
and then what?
Another one is to take turns planning. I think
like
you
that
always
one.
have your natural planner. That would probably be me. Not
Right.
that Bo doesn't have great ideas, because he does, but I think if you just take turns, and and you touched on this earlier, as you're thinking about what you want to, or what you might be doing, think about what they would like to do. It might not be what I would choose, but let's think about what they would maybe find fun. Bo might like to go to a car museum or go look at a history museum. He loves that kind of stuff. Not really my thing, and I would hope in turn, when it was his turn to plan, that he would think of something that it would be fun for me to do. So take turns. Don't always put it on one spouse to do all the idea planning. Take turns.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
take turns.
Okay.
I like this one. And we need to be better about this. Do a surprise date. Like if it's your turn to plan,
Yeah.
just say, this is what you need to wear. This is what time you need to be ready. And I'm not telling you anything else.
Yeah. See, I want to know.
I don't either, but I would be okay with that.
I would. I've done it.
That gave me enough plan. I know
Yeah.
I'm going to be appropriately dressed, and I know
Yeah.
what time I'm going to be ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going to zip me away on a helicopter, I need to know. But
Yeah, right. Or zip line you.
maybe.
You got to dress appropriate. Okay, so next.
All right. So I think sometimes too, even if you've been married a long time, maybe not even a long time, sometimes it's hard to come up with things to talk about when you're out, and to not
Like
be
you
on
just
your
go,
phone.
or talk about your kids.
Yeah, it can't
or
be
so-
family business.
Yeah.
We need to put that off the table. It can't be family business. And so I think at a marriage retreat, we had gotten a Q&A, conversation starters book. I think it was maybe Les and Leslie Parrott. They had,
Yeah.
and we were given as a gift. And I think those answers can change.
Yes.
I mean, you're like, wow, I didn't even know that about you.
Right.
And it's things
Right.
maybe you might have not thought to talk about, but good conversation is wonderful on a date.
Yeah, and it's not wrong to take somebody else's script
No.
of questions and just say, hey, let's go through these. And, or you do like a personality test. That's one of the things Herschel and I have done one time. We did it years ago. We need to redo it. But I would say it, and then I would go, how would you answer for me? And he would say something. I go, no, that's not. That's not the right answer. And he goes, no, that's my answer. It's like, no, that is wrong. Okay, so keep going.
All right. Put it on the calendar, protect it like anything else. If you have a shared family calendar or a physical calendar in your house,
Yeah.
especially to have your kids see that too, to say date
That's
night, mom and
great.
dad.
That's a great.
It needs to be a protected time. It doesn't need to be, well, all of a sudden, Jimmy's got a soccer game. Oh, we have to cancel. No,
Right.
this is our time, and we're gonna
Right.
we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. Let's see. Have you seen countdown apps?
Yes, I
Like
love
for a
them.
vacation. Why not do one for your date night?
That's great.
I like I almost enjoy looking
Yeah, they're
forward
free,
to
too.
something.
It's a free
Yes,
app.
Absolutely. If I just have something to look forward to, that's almost
Right.
as fun as doing it to me. So just to have something reminding me that it's coming up. I know that when the kids were little, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and I might not see anybody but children for a while. And I would be looking. There was no countdown app at that point. I don't even think
Right.
there was a smartphone at that
Yeah.
point. But I would look forward to that all day
Yes.
long. I might look forward to it all week long because
Right.
I got to get up. I got to get out of my mom clothes. I got to
Right.
go out and be an adult. And so I think just anticipating it, counting it down, however you want to do that, I think is just a fun way to be excited about it and to show that it's important.
Which you said, take off your mom clothes. That's
Yeah.
another one of the things. You
Right. Just, well,
dress
yes,
like
dress up.
before you got married. Typically, you know, if you're
Don't get
dating, not with
frumpy,
somebody,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, like put some effort into
Yes.
it. Like this person matters to you. If you're
Yes.
going out with a girlfriend to do something special, you aren't going to just wear your slouchy clothes. You know, you put on makeup or fix your
Right.
hair. Same for the guy. You know,
And you can even, I mean, during COVID, of course, obviously way more challenging, but why
Right.
not have a dress up and stay in? Like put on something super fancy, get the kids someplace,
Right.
stay in, light some candles, make dinner. I mean, how much intention does that show your spouse?
absolutely.
If I'm going
It
to dress
shows
up
you
in a
value
dress and I'm
them.
going to put on some
Right.
heels and put on some makeup and we're going to be in our home, well, that for sure would convey that you are really important to me.
Yeah.
Because I can sit here in my pajama pants.
Right. The bottom line is what us. I mean, if for no other reason than it's what Christ has designed for us to connect intimately with our spouse, to have a visual picture of what love really should look like. It's important to do that, but the fruit of it is just sweet. It really is.
It's so worth.
And it's worth whatever effort that you put into it. And it may feel awkward for a while. You know, sometimes you may go through an
does.
awkward stage trying to figure out what that might look like. And so I'm sure your advice, as well as what I would say, is, you know, work through the awkward. You know, you ever do a jazzercise or aerobics class or whatever it is, or weightlifting, you look weird when you first try and start some things.
That's true.
And then before long, you get your rhythm.
Yes.
And you go, there's what I'm going
And
for.
what a sweet rhythm to have in your
I
marriage.
know.
It's a great goal.
It
It's
is a great
goal.
Great goal. So rattle off real quickly because we're going to run out
Okay.
of time. But you give a couple of suggestions of places if you run dry.
I do. Now,
Okay.
one you gave me, so I'm sharing it. It's,
Okay.
it's you're the OG. It's Dating Divas.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's the best app. Google it. It's probably datingdivas.com.
Yeah.
They have all kinds of printables, invitations. You can send your spouse an invitation
Yeah.
saying this is the day. It's the greatest resource
Yeah,
for date
it's-
night
it's
ideas.
fun. It's fun.
You don't have an excuse to not have a date night
No,
idea.
no.
Right
Anything
there.
else?
One more is date night boxes. So everybody gets subscription boxes. You can get date night subscription boxes. Now I've not gotten one yet because it's not, but I think that's perfect for COVID. Comes
Yeah.
in a box.
Yeah.
There's several different subscriptions.
heard of this.
Yeah, there
I've
was a
heard of
few I
this.
found.
Yeah.
One of them was called Created with Love, Date Night in a Box. Well,
Yeah.
that's genius.
Okay.
Date Night Box Club and Unbox Love. So they're like
Okay.
subscriptions, $20 to $40 a month. It comes everything you need. You might play a game. You might make food. Do something, make a craft. I don't know. But
Okay.
I mean, it's right there. You don't even have to leave the house.
There we go. All right. Well, hope we've given you guys some valuable resources. I hope we've encouraged you to look at the importance of it and find the absolute delight in it. If I had my marriage to start over again, I would, without question, keep this the consistent thing going.
Yes.
Because it is a game changer. It is effort, but it is effort that pays off.
Oh,
isn't it, friend?
absolutely.
All right.
All
Thanks
right.
for joining us.
Thank you for
and we'll
having
see
me.
you guys
Thank you.
next time on Equipping Women. Bye.